As many of you have seen the exhibition, and as I mentioned yesterday, it's been a wonderful experience to be here to interact with all of you. And this is in fact the second panel discussion. The earlier one was where Vikas and I spoke and we talked about it. And this for us is the more important panel. This is the more important panel because we're talking about reframing the Adivasi, and it is now students from the Adiwasi who will be commenting on the exhibition. We have Shantiji, the daughter of Bishop Dr. Bengaluru, with us, talking about her experiences, how she responds also to it. What was the conceptualization of the exhibition that Vikas and I had? When we think of Adivasis even today, it's always in terms of difference. It's a difference from the mainstream, a different race, a different people with different physical characteristics, the primitive with a distinct style of dressing, ornamentation, headdress, love for dance and music, people with their bows and arrows who just suddenly become dangerous and can just explode into something dangerous. We have, in other words, an idealized notion of Adivasi culture, identity, and difference. And we could see when Vikas and I were looking, me as a historian at the colonial archive, and Vikas at the coastal archive, we could see that there were clear continuities. The colonial past indeed hangs over our heads. And therefore, through this exhibition, what we try to do is to track through the visual archive the 19th and the early 20th century, moving into the present, to see how stereotypes have emerged, how stereotypes have changed, how stereotypes have continued in the post-colonial window. And our intention was to not just talk about this, but most importantly, to talk about how Adivasi voices have critiqued such representations. And therefore for us, bringing in the archive of the poems, the letters, the writings, the photographs from Bishop Dr. Bengaluru's personal collection was extremely important, extremely noteworthy. So along with the colonial archive and the philatelic archive, that's what we wanted to emphasize. And our intention when we curated this exhibition was to talk about the importance of bringing together Adivasi voices and alternative history, a struggle for justice, dignity, and human rights. And thus, we are here now to learn from all of you, to know how you respond to the endeavor that Vikas and I really tried to put together. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Johan. For all of you who are used to the word Johan, it's strange to be in Bangalore and say Johan, right? It's a warm afternoon, unlike what we expect in Bangalore. I'm really very happy. This is my first time coming to Azim University. Heard about it. Many of my friends, children have studied here. But first time I've come here. And it was really nice to meet again with Vikas and Sangeeta, who I met only one more time before this in the exhibition that was in Delhi. And that sort of was the introduction for me as to what was going on. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm also very happy because we're going to listen to all of you young people. I'm from a different generation, and the thing about generations is that a lot has changed between my generation to yours. A lot. And our parents' generation and their parents' generation. So when we talk about reframing, the question in my mind is, what is the frame? Right? And who decided to frame this? We talked about colonial times, but if we think about framing of the Adivasis in our country, this has happened way before. And does anybody have an idea when we started making frame? What about Asurs? Yeah. So that's way back. So framing has not been something new. We have been put in boxes, in different kind of boxes. And so it is a big question. What is the frame Who decided there should be a frame? Do we need to break out of the frame? Is reframing a good way of breaking out and redoing the frame a better way? Different things. So I think that I hope the exhibition has raised some questions in your mind, and we'll hear from the four young people. I'm sure some of you are younger than my older son. And so the students today are very different from what Vikas was talking about. Well, I'm a tribal person, so I didn't have an issue about not having a tribal person in my class. In my medical school, I was the only person in my class. In our time, in my medical college, there were something like, I think, 5 of us in the tribal. Among the 300 students, not 7.5%, even if you went by the reservation. So that's the kind of life that we have lived. So let's hear from our young people here. We'll go in the order that is given. Yes. So I don't know them, I will get to know them now. You know each other, so I don't know whether it is important to introduce you. So Matthias is the MA Development second year student, right? And which part of West Bengal you come from? Do you have the name of the place?
West Bengal, Adiwasi.
The name of the village, please? Paulus? 9. Which is Alipurduar district. My pediatrician professor taught us that the place we come from is the most important place in the world. So you should be very proud to say that you are from Paulus 9, Alipurduar district, North Bengal. Okay, over to Matthias.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So my name is Matthias from School of Development from second year. So come from the West Bengal Alipurduar district, which is located in northern part, basically near the northern border. So also I come from the tribal backgrounds, like we're talking about colonial and post-colonial era and how it has changed over the period of time, like how it was stereotyped earlier, like primitive and uncivilized, thereafter dirty, barbarian, and so on. So how we start from historical period, as it come from the same background. So we have also migrated from Jharkhand, Chota Nagpur to northern part of Bengal during the British era, when tea cultivation started growing at around 1834, 1840. So at that time, they have went there forcefully and for seeking for in the tea gardens. So still they are there, they are become limited in that particular area where they do not have particular land, and house also they do not have, so they have some kind of another struggle on that. So today we are talking about Reframing Adivasis. So I would like to start from the little story, how we see during the post-independent and nationalisms, how it's taken place. Talking about there were different kind of rebellions happened, seeking to their own state during that time, when non-tribe and also tribe. Basically from the British, we wanted to be a freedom. So we got that thereafter. Also we had religious, cultural thereafter, linguistic that state we are seeking for. So there were different kind of things happen. So at around that moment, some act also came, state reorganizations act. So there were lots of demanded from the different state, we can say the southern part also, Telugus, thereafter talking about of course here the Kannadas, Marathis. So there were lots of demanded. So that time, after the act, there were lots of states which has given to them, recognized to them. also talking about like Bihar, thereafter Odisha, Assam. So it around late 1800, early 1900 we can say. But if you talk about the Bengal, they were little bit what to say, the privilege like during that time, they had more privilege about the autonomy. So they were also enjoying, and of course 1905, like when partitions happened, so that time they have divided. So like how like Christianity is thereafter what to say when the missionaries came here, so how the religions thereafter our culture that has been taken places, that has been changes, and still here like there are lots of issues here. I'm talking about my own area, like they're continuously demanding for the 6 schedule, like there were lots of protests happening, and also remembering those time like when Mundas, thereafter Santhal, Vidros happened, like we are recognizing our freedom fighters at that, and so there are lots of things are going on here. So I would like to connect a little bit from, there is one very famous song as well. Probably you know that Gaon Shodapne Ki Jannat Shodapne. That song also like clearly says that like you are bringing different kind of, like I would like to sing this one or two line here. Like, so that song also says that like Gaon Shodapne Zindagi Shodapne Maay Mati Shodapne Ladai Shodapne. So this saying that we do not leave our land, forage, whatever resources we have. Thereafter, the first line also says that like वन बना रहे, गाँव डुबा रहे, कारखाना बना रहे, जंगल काटी खदान खोदी सेंचुरी बना रहे. You are bringing different kind of projects, like you are constructing bands here, like dams, and like we are losing our resources. So this is also happening. So they are saying that we are protecting, like we will going to protest and will not leave that, continuously we will do that. Also say that तुम पियोगे बेची कोला बिस्लरी का पानी, हम कैसे अपना प्यास बुझाए पीकर कचरा पानी, ओ पीकर कचरा पानी. So this, I think you got to know that, like this coming in the line of Hindi. So there are lots of things are going on there, and of course I mentioned that. So I had also done the research, like when I was in the second semester. So I also, since my interest of the mind is a little bit health, so I was very much connected. I have done the travel area, so how they have systematically excluded from, like from the like what facilities we're talking about dignity under the democratic framework. We talk about one person's one vote, one person's one value. But we are following that one person's one vote. But where is the one person's one value? To everybody. We say that in democracy there are equal opportunities for all, but it doesn't make equal opportunities to everyone. So there are lots of struggles happen because of independence as well. If you are aware about different kind of projects came. Of course, when I was in the water subject, so that time also I got to know lots of things like that Mother Valley development project, how the displacement happened, how the resettlement happened. But thereafter, after 13, 14 years as well, the compensations or whatever Bharpai was that has not been taken place. So there are lots of things. Even like when I was doing my graduations and even residency, so there is a questions about like Adiwasis. They used to say you are Adiwasis, and there were lots of times like they used to say that okay, you are the persons of my, you are the first tribal friend. And sometimes like it's key. Sometimes they raise the questions. You are Adiwasis. You are from that tribal, and you do a wearing that tribal costumes like forest and everything. And when we came here, they will ask that okay, you are from tribal and you are wearing this kind of things. But when we say that again, you ask that the tribal, but why are you wearing that kind of dresses? But these kind of things are happening. And even how they have systematically excluded, if I talk about, like, there were lots of examples of, like, talking about in the Avas Yojanas in my areas, where they were like money scheme, but that is taken by the upper caste people, and there are allotment, like first allotment they will receive, thereafter like they will not allocate for that. Talking about Grama Sabha as well, when I was studying in the Bengaluru University, first time I got to know okay, Grama Sabha is there, where people can write their voice about their local situations what they have, like what government is providing. But in my area, that time it was not existing. They were, but people said that when I went there, the panchayat, they said that okay, it is there, but people are not aware, and we are also not organizing that. So nobody is not about that. So it was time when what to say, the panchayat elections was happening. So we introduced that there is a Grama Sabha, we can put at everybody. So there were lots of parties who used the terms Grama Sabha and started asking for the voting. He will conduct Grama Sabha for you and you are going to ask your questions and you will get the facilities from that. But even now, when I went back, even nowadays, that has not, again, not like going on there. So there are lots of things, even when I was doing, okay. Also when I was doing like research in the tribal area, so like as I already told you, like they have migrated at that area, but they are still living there. And like there are systems where they have to work in the tea gardens from one generation to second generation. And they do not have land, they do not have house, they are like living in the company houses. And there is a chances like where they are living that houses, living that job, there is a chances of like losing that work, losing that work thereafter, losing that house. So there is no other kind of opportunities beside that tea gardens. And like talking about the capital, earlier we had lots of capital, we had forest, resources, and but nowadays talking about like social capital, if I remember, like there are social capitals in terms of migration. You can see lots of migration in the cities who belong from the Adiwasi communities. Because when they migrated for the work and they have a direct kind of social capital only, they knew okay my parents are there. So there are lots of people are coming here. And other than that social capital we can see there are nothing in the like institutions. Nowadays it is growing and like so those who are there like they are getting the development like from that same background. So there are lots of things like are there, but yeah, I would like to add like other aspects.
So, hello everyone. I am Azim from the Food Legacy of Jharkhand, and I'm pursuing my MA development here. So, as we know, Nitesh has covered the historical part, he talks about the displacement thing, so I'm not going to talk about that. So, first of all, I want to say that I'm very religious, okay? But, like, यहाँ आने के लिए बहुत लड़ाई की है, यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए लड़ाई की है. So, I am very religious, but I can't say that I am religious because historically I get the name primitive, like historically people call us backward. So, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the social context, how the tribal community think about the tribal community and how non-tribes think about it. So, when we talk about the primitive, so according to this, I don't know how people think about the primitive world, but according to me, the community of the person who don't have dignity, who don't respect other people, who do not respect women are primitive. And as I believe that our community is not like that. So I want to give this argument by keeping my research on this table. So I have done my research on the effect of Dhupu on the socio-economic life of tribal women of the district of Jharkhand. So the research talks about the challenges faced by the Dhupu women, the Adivasi women. But this research also talks about how the Dhupu practice, which was the historical part of our community. In Dhupu practice, the couple used to live together without the permission of the family. It's a kind of legal relationship. But historically it was like beneficial for us. But nowadays, with the modernization, our own community is thinking that this practice is not good. But without it, and because of that, couple face many challenges. And then also like the females are facing many challenges. Then also they are practicing it. Because they have the freedom to choose their partner. They have to freedom to test their partner. They have to freedom to change their partner. That's why they are doing it. But nowadays, people say that the living relationship concept is very modern concept. This concept comes in this generation. But I want to say कि आप जितना सोचते हो हम उतने backward ही नहीं हैं. We are not as much backward as like you think about it. We are like थोड़े advanced हैं. So as we see the posters presentation there, I saw that there are posters who are representing our dance forms, who are representing our cultural costumes, and I can relate this with my life also because when I came to APU, so there are people connected. As Matthias also mentioned, people when we wear that dress, people ask us, "Oh, you belong to tribal community, you belong to this community." But if we say we are belong to tribal community, then they say, "Oh, then why you speak English?" That's what the incidents with me. "Oh, you are Adiwasi?" I said yes. Then how you can speak English? भाई यहाँ एक तो हिंदी बोलने के लिए सीखना पड़ता है, इंग्लिश बोलने यहाँ तक आने के लिए सीखना पड़ता है. Then also you are saying we want to study. That's why we learn this. But you are asking us why we speak. They think we don't respect our language. And I was like, there was a situation my parents keep me outside my village because for the education. So being an ground girl, I can speak sadly, but I can't speak good. I only can understand it. So this is very shameful for me. I can't understand. I can't speak it. And people are relating this. You have taken education, you have taken benefits of government, but you lost your cultural things. But thing is, maybe I lost my language, but I didn't lost my values. I can relate with the incidents of Constituent Assembly when the Jaipal Singh Munda was arguing with the Baba Saheb, Nehru and Sardar Patel. He was saying, why you can't say as Adiwasi? Why you can't use the term Adiwasi? And for this, Baba Saheb had to explain a lot to him. And that time, one person, I don't know the name of that person, so that person said you can't understand the legalities because you belong to the tribal community. So that time he said, I have studied in Oxford years. How you can say? Then that person argued, if you lived outside your village, you studied in Oxford University, then how you can call yourself as an Adiwasi? So my talk is about that. If I am studying, if I am wearing good clothes, then why I can't be an Adiwasi? Did my values have changed? No. There are many of the Adiwasis who not belong to these villages. They are from the cities. They are practicing their cultural values. They believe they God is the nature. We believe in Adivasi. We don't believe in we have to make career, we have to study, we have to money. If you want to, if you are an Adivasi and if you are thinking we have to make money only, then also we can be we will be equal to the other communities. That doesn't mean that means you have lost your Adivasi. So that's it. And throughout the posters present in the history, I saw that there was one picture which depicting the Adivasis are dealing with cattle disease, and that practice was done when they are connected, but they are forced to wear these clothes. So through this, I remember one incident when my grandmother used to say me कि तुम्हारे ऊपर में कम नंगे रहते हैं, उनके लिए कॉमन था वो चीज़. So she told me that when there was establishment of minings in the time, when the mining started, then they were forced to work in mining areas and they were forced to wear the clothes. So she said ना कि earlier I felt wow we are going to wear these things. हमने ऐसा देखा था बस दूसरे और पे पहनते हैं, पर अब हम भी पहनेंगे. But later she realized this wearing this clothes I maybe look good, but I'm not feeling comfortable. So I believe the society expects with us if we do the things from within which we are not comfortable. But if we are doing, then you ask our identity. You are asking about our culture. You are asking about our Adivasi. So and through the presentation, it was also mentioned that our dance forms. People say in campus also when we dance, when we wear our traditional dresses, wear our traditional ornaments, people came to see us. But when we talk about our Adivasi thing, they say normal normal thing. They have हर आदिवासी कहता है वही बोल रहे हो. But this is not normal for us. We pride, like we wore this dress with pride. So one of my friends asked me, you don't have other options to wear. Like why you are wearing this dress only? Well, bro, I wear this dress with my pride. This dress is connected with my pride and my value. So why I will not dress it? And if I like last year, there was a poster of Sidhu Gandhi. So the first picture of Sidhu Gandhi shows he was very decent guy, very thin guy. And later the government says, well not government, the British government says he was bloody thirsty. Like my ma'am also mentioned yesterday. So I was like very like जब हम बोलना शुरू करते हैं तो खुद को हमें बुरा बोलते हैं. Like people judge us on the basis of our opinions, on the basis of our actions. When we start speaking, they say, oh, these are also fighting for equality. They have reservation, then also they are fighting for equality. If I talk about my experience, so like my parents keep me outside in the village. So I lived in Bengaluru district of Jharkhand. So in that area, there was like mining area and there was very less population of tribal. So I was bullied a lot. There was a time when student doesn't want to sit with me because I am an Adiwasi. But when I complained, this kind of things are happening with me, the whole classes made me alone. There was a situation when I was writing my board exam, 10 matric board exam. One of the tutors said me and my friends, like, oh, तुम्हारी दिया तुम अगर 90% भी लाओगी ना तो तुम्हें नहीं मिलेगी सीट, पर ये 50% आगे भी सीट लेगी, तो रहना छोड़ो. And then after the result I came to go to him now. When I tell him I got this kinds of marks, and fortunately that time I got 7th rank in my whole school. So that was when I told him, he was like, क्योंकि मैंने पढ़ाया था, जो नहीं पढ़ाया we are doing, but why you are not recognizing? Simply that tribal, that doesn't mean you are getting the seat. When I came to him, my previous college students are also saying, oh, you are tribal, that's why you got the seat. But there is no reservation because I am not getting it. So this thing was like through all my life experience now, and through the post presentation also, I realized there is need to reclaim our identity. There is not like people who want to accept like we are. They want us to be look like that only. And if we became little rebellious to them, they show their real colors. So we decided my words. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. I don't know whether everybody knows about Buku system.
Yes.
Yeah?
I present in my research.
Yeah, okay, but I don't think everybody knows this is when a girl and boy they decide that they are adults or maybe just about adults. They decide they want to be partners. And the girl just leaves her home and goes and stays with him. And similar experience, it's happening in faction, but it's very less now. But I worked in a place in Tamil Nadu, Jawadi Hills. There's Kalrain, Jawadi Hills, where there is 1% of Tamil Nadu's tribal population. Some of them live there. They have that system also. And I, as a medical student, I went there in '87, and we came back and gave a report to my class. So, first we told our pediatric professor, who was our guide, he said, hey, you people are talking about tribal population, they are much more forward than us. Because the girl can choose the guy, she can leave him, so we ask them, what if they don't like each other? Just go your way. What if there is a baby? Baby is there, as long as people know who the father is, doesn't matter. That's there's a community in Tamil Nadu, even now, that happens. So when we talk about the point that she brought out, what is primitive baby, I think it's a big question. Who is primitive? What is thinking primitive? I was asked about this thing as a medical student, say, girls, in tribal communities, many of them, at least some parts, they do not change their name after marriage. Okay? I asked my grandmother when I was young, do you have to change your name? I said, no. Because nobody is expected to change the name. That's an English way of looking at things. I didn't change my name after marriage. None of my sisters did. You don't become something else just because we get married. And one of my Malayali seniors said, hey, you didn't change your name? I had to do the whole legal process within a week of marriage. Who's forward? Kerala, Jharkhand. So that's the kind of thing that we need to really see. There are good parts and bad parts in every culture. And I think we need to open our eyes better and look at the world in a better way. Not better way, I think we need to be open so that we can actually understand each other, learn from each other, value each other. Thank you, Alisha. I had actually forgotten. Almost like, and even my family, we had some. So we have Sneha next. You also didn't say which village you come from. People also used to say state name.
Ekamba Harakuru. That means the village of stones.
Where is it?
C-section.
Hello everyone. Very good afternoon to all. So my name is Sneha and I am from Chanabahar village and my district is Sundargarh, Odisha. So from this poster presentation, photo exhibition, I learned a lot and I saw a lot of rebellions from our tribal community itself. So I felt very proud, first of all. And this was the exhibition, we directly saw the real image of them. Usually we see the images in Google and all, which are not real as we see Birsa Munda's picture and all. But those were the pictures of real Birsas, real other Adiwasi community leaders. So it felt very good. And through all of them, I learned that how was our history and how our historians have fought for our rights, fought for our land, fought for our Adivasi identity. So this is a very great thing. But in current situation, what is happening in our place is also national projects are coming, and even so in those era, our Birsa Baba and all, so those who people fought with bows and arrow. But now we don't have that strength of fighting in bows and arrow. In my previous vacation only, I went to my home and there was a protest against this Bharat Mala Yojana. This is a national highway project and which was going to be made in some years, and they were going to the collectors, they came to our villages and all, and they were going to put khamba, so pole. So villagers were going to protest and they don't have that much idea. They were fighting in such a way that we don't want this road, as their home and their village was going in that road only. So throughout this posters and all, I came to know about the leaders, how they fought. So now this is not the era to fight with bows and all, but with the strategy. The collector, they came to the village with a lot of police force and all. So is it they are seeing us we will fight bows and arrow? Is it like that they are coming with bows and arrow? We were simply protesting, but still they came with 5 to 6 buses and all. So this we can see how they are assuming us, that are we protesting in such a violation way. But our way of asking for our right is simply in a communicational way. So these all things are there. And what I feel, the barrier that is there is education. Whatever we saw this thing Like in yesterday's this lecture, man told that this has to be brought in the education system. Like as in our place, it is totally tribal area places there, but still in most schools such things are taught. Like in some paragraph there might be about Birsa or some fighters, but there is no such education about their histories, like their birth, and about the Adivasi. Like Adiwasi are assumed simply as they are uneducated, they are like stupid, they can't like do anything. But in the other way, if we see, they work a lot, and they simply, if you are saying they are stupid, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. It means that they are innocent, which is a behavior of a human being. So when one person is seen and assumed and they are called for a long time as a backward class, then they themselves feel that yes, we are backward and we don't have any good qualities. So this is a kind of thing, they feel themselves as an inferior, which I also feel sometimes. And currently when I am like studying and I am studying in this area, then I am coming to know about these things and all. So this all things is there in my village, and like 90% of the youths who are there, they don't prefer to study or like prefer to do a good career. Like majority of them have migrated, and majority of them don't know also or not interested also about who are we. They never talk or in no place they discuss about these things. So I feel that we have something, but still why we are not talking? So that education is the main gap that should be brought in the main education syllabus and all. And yes, I think that this whole thing should be given more importance. And this is all what I learned from whole exhibition. And thanks for Vikas sir, Sangeeta ma'am, and even our to enlighten all these things. And yes, we will do, and we are here to learn and develop some more development which can be directly implemented and can be done for our people only. Thank you.
So my name is Azim. I'm the first year of development. So I'm the first year, and I'm from coastal Maharashtra, Raigad district. And particularly the name of my village, I would not like to say the name because in at least in coastal Maharashtra, we don't have our own name for our villages. We use the name of the village which has post office. So there is a post office 2 kilometers from my village. So my village name is like Adiwasi. So Narsu is the post office 2 kilometers from my home, and Adiwasi is Adiwasi village. So that's how they recognize all us in our area. And so about the poster presentation, like yesterday also we were discussing, and the colonial photos are there, and they are like trying to show how the Adiwasis were looking in that time. And the missing thing was like they were not giving natural photos, they were not in their natural attire, their behavior, how their missing was like they were not saying how they live exactly. And they were making them to like give a food. And in one photo, I can clearly see that the woman feeling very awkward for the photo shoot, and her awkwardness making me uncomfortable. Because for the public in general, she is like just a tribal lady in 19th century. But for me, she is my ancestor, she is my grandmother, and her awkwardness, like obviously, I'm going to feel that deeply. So that's how I felt yesterday. And yeah, but I'm like little bit. I want to acknowledge the Indian Post. They are at least acknowledging the tribal leaders. They bring their history, their photos, their culture, their identity, and it started like just after the second trial test. That from that onwards, it's their Adiwasi and their like I'm from Maharashtra, I would particularly like to talk about the education in Maharashtra. So in Maharashtra state, we don't have like any history textbook. We don't have Birsa Munda, we don't have any tribal leader. And for me, in my school days, I was feeling very alienated with the syllabus. I was always trying to like where is my history, where is my culture, nobody there. And literally, I was not aware about Birsa Munda until my 11th class. So for my 11th class, I migrated to some other place, and there I met with some other friends, and they told me there was some of Birsa Munda and we could make something and all that. So yeah, Maharashtra government education department actually they really need to think about the syllabus and add more about Adiwasi leaders. Especially there is Babura Sridhar from Bengaluru, Eastern Maharashtra, and you can see the 1858 he wanted autonomy sovereignty in his area, and he captured like a big area, big land, and at the end the poster mentioned he attacked the telephone camp, which was the center of communication, and he wanted to cut out the communication between the local the officers and the whole bureaucracy. So you can see his vision. He just wanted autonomy and he wanted to cut down this communication. And that much communication and many more things are there in history. But our education department, our government of Maharashtra, so he there is nothing about him in our any textbook. That is a tragedy, and we really need that kind of history in our textbook. Yeah, and third point I would like to mention about the dictionary. So we had two sections. One is the colonial and another dictionary and anthropology. And both of them were like almost similar photos and the way reflecting us. But they were not all like more current times in current political situation. We use the dictionary that like they were changed again and they just converted us. But they not only convert them, but they give education. And that is like important thing for in my experience, because like I'm from Central Maharashtra, and if we see the presentation and the leaders over there, all of them are from Central Maharashtra, and the link is like they had kind of a dictionary there, they had education, and Birsa, Dr. Premji, all of them got education through the dictionary, and they become the prominent points of tribal community in Central India and across the country. But in coastal Maharashtra particularly, there is no tribal leader. In 1930s, there was a small event. They were protesting against the Forest Act of 1927, and so Kachori people like protesting. The leader was there, and he died in that shooting and all. So it's like only one event in the entire Indian history in coastal Maharashtra. But in Central Maharashtra, Central India, there is a range of leaders and historians and fights. So this is kind of a positive, I would say, positive impact of dictionaries in Central India, and we should acknowledge that. Yeah. Yes, and one more thing was that in those Indian food, they were like making photos of leaders, and they were showing their struggle. But many leaders like Jaipal and Dr. Means are missing, and most of them are like 19th century, 20th century leaders, and they were like well educated, they were scholars, and they had, I personally feel like they had kind of knowledge and capacity to mobilize the tribal community across the country, and maybe the ruling party had left care of them, and because of them they are not utilized with the engagement. So from that point I would like to complete.
So I want to thank all the four panelists to people who spoke, and it's nice that you spoke about different things, and nice to hear from Maharashtra also, because the other three of them are one region. They come from one region. So I think now the floor is open for questions and even bringing your comments. This mic is going to do something. Yeah.
It's not my question actually. I haven't. I just write up. So I wanted to just share it. As a Adiwasi student, what is development for me? Actually, I'm a development first year student, and I'm from Bengaluru district of Maharashtra. Yeah. So according to the Amit said, development is not only a process that can be measured as a income, choices, preferences, standard of living, and certain things which can contribute to your richness. Okay. But also an idea that can be measured as a freedom. That is economic freedom, social freedom, political freedom, transparency guarantee, etc. So also the free as well as free agency, organizational choices. But where is the idea? Where is the idea of development for tribals? If we are thinking about the idea of freedom linked to the development, then I would say I won't develop, because I won't develop anymore, because my freedom is about to be free from the states which are imposing me. Okay. I don't have free agency to speak against mining in this development for me. Okay. I don't have. Should I speak loud? Yeah. I don't have that background or organizational choices where I can speak English like elite people and I can get a job. Is this development for me? If I try, they will bully me and try to lose my confidence. If I have capabilities and opportunities, then where is my sense of responsibility? Which Esteban talks about, that communities should have sense of responsibilities. They can develop themselves. So where is my transparency guarantee where any bureaucrats can exploit me? If the idea of development is about freedom, then where is my freedom of agency, choices, and whatever the link is about? To save my forest and communities and mountains, it is totally different from the freedom. It is my freedom is only about substantive freedom, which can save my forest and my life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yes, logic right. Slightly different from what we are discussing here. It's also something that I can't help but voice. When we were students doing our masters, right, whatever discipline we could be doing, we were all quite drawn to the new field that was being explored. So a lot of us got interested in subaltern studies, those different volumes were coming in. We started getting David Hardiman and things like that, and we started thinking that nationalist history has done injustice. Right? There are this several of unknown figures who have fought against British. Whatever that part, and that is quite true. That attraction to subaltern history or graphy was quite genuine. This year, I was invited to Bengaluru to speak about a freedom fighter who was Gandhi for Sadish Dasu. And I wanted to go to a place where he had to run his small organic farming experiment after India attend period. And there is no sign of what the place was. It's unwritten completely. And there is no biography on Sadish Adivasi. Similarly, someone who gave the first very successfully in cooperative, Calcutta Mutli, and it was nationalist historiography doesn't have a lot of thing on him. Is it time to also start thinking that nationalist historiography project is also unfinished project? As we agreed during 1947, and we might have exhausted everyone, even coming from surnames like Das Gupta or Bose. Correct? Because a lot of time we keep getting trapped by these binary opposites. Bhadro Bengali versus tribal Bengali. Can an indigenous person speak sort of questions? Like, so it's time to come out of this binarism and start thinking. I started with a little bit of saying that we were drawn to Samal historiography in 1900 and were not Premji and everybody. But in 2025, this is where we are. Like, people who walked along with Gandhi, starting with Ramaji Ashram, and it was band of less than 100. There is not biography of no single personality who walked with Gandhi. There was someone who was a Brahmin from Gujarat called D.V. Patel. And who knows about D.V. Patel? Like, you go to Gujarat and you might be speaking Gujarati, India with students. And you will try this out. And I can take a bet that they may start debating you Saint versus Mahatma ऐसे में हम how we need to come out of some of this binary which is important.
Thank you.
It's certainly true that we have this binary, but we need to perhaps instead of the existing approach, we need to think of people who fit in the state's project. Now, the 100 people who surrounded who worked with Gandhi may not have been, many of them would have raised uncomfortable questions to the early post-colonial state. They would have questioned the centralized planning, approach to planning. So they would have raised, difficult questions. So the state, perhaps it would be better to understand the state from the perspective of, it's a perspective that it classifies people into those who raise difficult questions about its nature, its fundamental nature, and those who are comfortable with its larger routines. So a tribal villager from Jharkhand may be as uncomfortable to the state as a committed Gandhian who worked with Gandhi. So it's not about, it is about identity for sure, but it's more about how you relate to the state. So I think, there we find that a lot of, in fact, I have done I've got some archive on this. A lot of Gandhians in the 70s and 60s, they are asking questions, what have you become? Was this that we for all these years? So these are our castes, Deshpandes, all these people, but they are questioning, and the state did not listen to them. So I think it would be more, in fact, in my own work, I do try to put down this part that the state has a way of understanding people. It wants to conform to its system instead of learn from people and adapt to it. So I would agree with you, but it's not about, but I still argue that it's not about whether certain Adiwasi or non-Adiwasi ones that we put down. It's about how we relate to this field. And then say something about indicates point of no stamp for Dr. Nirmal. Dr. Nirmal passed away in 2021, and to appear on a stamp, there has to be at least decade after that, you can feature on a stamp. So for him to appear on a stamp, he has to wait until 2031. But by 2031, I guess, the way digital evolution is expanding, we may not have physical stamps anymore. So I'm not sure if Dr. Minch can ever appear on a stamp.
No, the thing is, there is not, Dr. Nirmal was one person who worked and wrote and thought and encouraged people to think in direction. But he was not the only one. Right? There were lots of other people. And some of the things that many of you have said, development, the word development and the definition of development is one of my favorite questions I ask my students. What am I asking my students? I teach medicine, I teach all medical professionals, but I ask them that question. Because I'm a public health person, health is not in isolation to anything else. Health is part of development, development is part of health. And so I ask the question, and I ask everybody to look at that question carefully. I just said I worked in our channel area for quite some time, starting community program and development activities. And my senior at that time told me, the person who was initiating that, and said, Shanti, you have to clearly ask the people what they want. What is it that they want? This is a hilly area. If the youngsters study, what will they do? They'll find jobs in the plains. That means they'll migrate. Will they marry the girls from the cities like the hills? Or the girls marry the boys from the hills? Are they ready for that change? Development means a lot of people, and it's a community, the society needs to come to that concept. Like you said, if there is no freedom, there is no development. Who's developed? That is another question we had asked. I used to take a session with medical students. Who's developing? Why is it that for the good of all, there's only one set of people who have to lose out? Right? The one set of people where the minds are, the one set of people where the nerves are. And what do you lose? Oh, land. Government will give you compensation as land. Where Mamana asked this question to a tribal engineer who was part of one of the dam project. It did not happen. Fine. One of the successful opposition to a dam. She said, where will the compensation, the land will be given? So no, that is, what will they do there? Not a simple question. What will they do there? Then we started thinking, they cannot do what you are doing in the land we lost. So all the land lost in Naga, all the lands lost in Mahadadi dams, all the lands lost in the small place I did, and there was a dam there. Masanjo Dam. Land is lost by the tribal population who inhabit the area, and from Masanjo Dam, who's benefiting? West Bengal farmers. Damodar Valley Corporation putting the electricity on all industry, and we had no electricity. Our hospital was running 10 hours on generator. That's the tragedy of development. So, whose development, what development is a big question. To my mind, development is a situation where every single person has the opportunity to realize their potential. That I would call as development. Now the issue is, my father said, and Dr. used to say, development without displacement. This loss of land, which is saying, there's another one, you know what, Jal, Jungle, Jameen, right? You lose Jameen, what happens? You migrate, you go somewhere else. Are you going to be the same community? No. Can you lose your language? Yes. When you lose your language, what happens?
The identity
So identity is something that we cannot, I mean, who are you going to be if you don't have the land? Don't have the language? Who is going to be? Who is you? What is my identity? That is a big question to start at the beginning. And development at what cost? I hope you are aware of the United Nations Permanent Forum for Indigenous People. Do you know India doesn't have a representation of the indigenous people? The people only who go there and represent in the meetings are people who are going under the guise of some other NGO. Because India says we are all indigenous people. That is the official stand. The first time I met Dr. Ramnath Munda and my father, they went on some other visa. They did not declare they were going to the government forum because the government did not want to allow it. So that's the state that we are in. Unless we acknowledge that we have a group of people who have been wrong for years, then we can't go forward. So, any more questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you all for such a great insights and sharing your experience. So, I wanted to ask, like, Sangeeta ma'am has written on reflexivity and conditionality as well. Doing the researches and thinking upon our when we are thinking of reframing the Adiwasi. So, we understand that some of the colonial understanding we still have, right? Also, not the non-Adivasi, but the Adivasi as well. We ourselves also, as Sneha mentioned, like, we in India, because we have been taught that. I would like to share my external experience. Like, I was in Mysore and we were going to a dance for swimming. So we were in a Maruti car and there was a 7th class student with us from Delhi. He's in school in Mysore. So when we got out of the city, then you can see in south mostly the suparis and nariyal trees and those rice, paddy cultivations, right? So everywhere there was greenery. So that child said that to one of my friends, now say, Didi, अपना आदिवासी वाला एरिया देखने तुम आगे उनके घर. I mean, where is this thinking coming from, right? And also, that is one racial heritage was there in colonial India. Still, some of the things are going on, like the People's Project of India and So I'm using the post-colonial India scholars. So this post-colonial term politically. So it will mean something, right? Because in colonial India you have thought of something different, but the legacy still continues, right? So after the independence, the subalterns came and the subaltern study started and they started to think from the bottom. And also Gelam has raised questions after the mentioned David Hardiman's book coming out with it, right? After that, like, who will be the subaltern here? Like, you are mentioning that elites are above the subaltern. If the elites are fighting for our community, then so now we are in politics, right? We have the tribal students in different colleges. So will we be in the subaltern category if we talk on behalf of our community, right? Because we are not detached from them. Right? Because our identity without them is nothing. We as individuals we are nothing, right? So we are representing as a community, right? Not an individual. So what comes to my mind is that in the post-colonial India, the scholars who are using some of the terminologies and the studies which they rely on from the colonial times, and whoever doing research on us, maybe from the upper class, the non-Adivasi communities. So if we try to develop the tribal studies or Adivasi studies in India, and as we know, every community has differences. Even if they are located in different bodies or different villages, they will have some similarity, but I know their historical experience is the same. Right? But when we try to homogenize the whole Adivasi community in central India, overall India, right? So I think there should be something like, my question was that how will you developed syllabus or reframe these studies without giving out something saying like, oh, they are homogeneous, right? Because mostly you will find in Central India people are saying Chopar. And Nam said like people don't take their surname. So also we don't like to call tribe or tribal, and the term Adiwasi is gaining more political, power nowadays. So people try to assert with Adivasi term. But if you visit in our area, I am also from Maharashtra, but we share that dwelling area of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Bengaluru. So this will demand is the answer, right? So what happens is if you ask me, so who I will say again. If you ask him, he will say I am power like this, right? We won't say that with a crowd like I am a tribe or I am a tribal. Because when we say that I am from a tribe, the person who is looking at us, his sense will change. Or the person who is talking to us, like we saw from the experience in language, and they will automatically change. Right? I know that there is the racial profiling in America, right? But in India also we can see that many of the times we do like, oh, you look perfect. I mean, you look perfect in the sense you look tribal, this face and all, right? So this gamcha I use for because I choose some it's that's why. But this is not to give that sense that oh I am tribal, that's why. Because many of the tribal communities use this because they are working in the sun, right? And that's why there are many of the regions, but nowadays people are asserting of the identity. So I wanted to say that the profiling is not there, but still the racial theory is working on the ground. And as we have been romanticized in the academics, be that in academics, just limiting us to the jungle jameen and also our traditional attire, our ornaments. I know that there are many more things beyond that in our community. Also, as Mostly has done her research on Hindu practices, we can still see how patriarchy is working in that system as well. So we are not, aloof from that. We are also there. Right? But how we as a community fight for things that also bring us in the context. So if we have to develop the syllabus or to understand what actually Adiwasi situation is on ground, or we need to reflect through what lens we will do.
Is that a question? Yeah. You've actually collapsed many questions in what you said. Yes, I teach a course in JMU, which I call Tribes Within Inverted Commas and History. So I call it Tribes and Histories, Categories, Communities, and Practices. Why do I use the word tribe within inverted commas? Because we have several contending categories. We have tribe, we have scheduled tribe, we have indigenous people, we have Adiwasis, of late we have Adiwasis. All of these terms are used interchangeably, but they actually cannot be used interchangeably. Each of these terms have their own genealogies. The term that we choose to use is a term that is used as a conscious choice. Because using each of these terms, you see, what you say is actually your political position. So I use the word Adiwasi. I am a non-Adiwasi, okay? But I use the word Adiwasi for a particular reason. Because I believe that, and the word Adiwasi is not used in the Northeast. There, the word that they prefer to use is either tribe, indigenous people, ST. Adiwasi has a totally different meaning. So even as I talk about the importance of Adivasi studies, and I do talk about the importance of Adivasi studies, I've written about how I see the future of Adivasi studies as a historian. All these things I talk about while accepting that there is also a problem inherent in the term by historically tried trace its genealogy. It is, I do not believe that historically to look at something can ever be negative. A political project for a marginalized group is an imperative. The cry of Jal Jangal Jangal has to be there. For a marginalized people, it has to be there. I have often been asked to come to the second strand of the question. As a non-Adivasi, why do I write Adivasi histories? As a non-Adivasi, without an experiential access to the past, am I allowed to write Adivasi histories? And I have a question. I'm a woman. I'm a Bengaluru. I come from urban Calcutta. So what history am I supposed to write? Gender history, urban history, Calcutta's history. You write history because you are interested, you are passionate about something. It is not always linked with identity. And as all voices are important, and as I as a historian am trying to unpack colonial voices, I also open up my own voice for unpacking. All the different voices together, coming together, will strengthen the field of Adivasi studies. And that is how I look at myself as a historian. For me, it is important to do this exhibition. It is important to do this exhibition because I believe that one needs to unpack colonial voices. One needs to emphasize the importance of Adivasi voices. But as a non-Adivasi, I don't. So I think, as I said, all voices need to be unpacked, all voices come together to strengthen the field of Adivasi studies. Dalit studies has already progressed. Adivasi studies still has some way to go. Dalit icons are already there. Adiwasi icons are still in the making. Birsa Munda was not an icon some years ago. There is a way through which Birsa Munda becomes an icon. Jatra Orao was not an icon for the Oraos. The Oraos also needed an icon. Jatra Orao becomes an icon. For marginalized people, as a very, very poignant statement was made, that it we to be proud that you have people who have had a legacy of protest, of learning how to stand against the colonial state. My response to you is I'm actually writing a biography of Shaurya Chandra, okay, a Bengali. And I've often been asked that why. I think if one looks at the trend in history writing, we had nationalist historiography, we had Marxist historiography, we had subaltern historiography, we had deconstruction of looking at power relations and how history is dealing with constructs. We had that phase. In a sense, I see that we are getting back to a stage of writing biographies. A lot of biographies now are being written. The choice of who you pick up has several considerations. For me, the choice of Shaurya Chandra is because I look at, although I'm a historian, I look at Adivasis. I look at why those who have been important in the making of Adivasi histories, whose voices are still heard. And in a question paper of Jharkhand last year, there was a question on Shaurya Chandra. But his house, which was the National India office, does not exist anymore. The state of Jharkhand did not preserve the house as a monument to be preserved. Memorialization indeed is a messy process. And we need to understand for the state what is important, what is not. At different levels we need to explore this. And if one looks at it historically, and if one looks at it at the level of what's happening today, politics and political reasons coming out, then one can understand exclusions and inclusions. And I think as a historian, it is extremely important for us to look back and think why Certain figures get celebrated, certain figures do not get celebrated. For me, the act of unpacking is critical to all of us. The need to question and understand is very difficult for us. If that answers some of your questions.
Thanks for your question. At 80s before COVID, we used to have course that we had taught. In that, it's called Reading Nagaland. Now, in Reading Nagaland, I had included only those readings which I had personally collected from local publishers, libraries, villages, and student offices, etc. etc. So I don't have very clear answer, well thought out answer about what you could mean to a different bureau study, but this is what I did experiment a couple of years in which almost every reading was except for one or two readings which were drawn from Assamese teachers who had served in the hills for a very long time. Every other reading was from the local communities that was collected. So perhaps along with our grand theoretical courses, we can also have these kind of courses which are based on local voices. Now you can always say because that you have chosen them and they might represent your personal biases. I believe I try to avoid biases. However, if that is the case, I am sure others are free to launch parallel courses which they can maybe bring in reading which I have knows. So I think as you bring these readings into classroom, they would raise questions which will then force the grand theoretical courses to make changes in their system.
So if you just give me 5 minutes, I'll just put together some of my thoughts and some of the things that I've heard. Okay. It is right.
I think I'm loaded. Yeah, I just want to say that first of all, I should apologize to all of you. Maybe I was just looking for a little delay. Professor Vikas Kumar was really explaining that exhibition there. I never realized that's waiting here, so I'm sorry about that. And just wanted to respond to the question that came about the stamp. Dr. Development's stamp, certainly I don't agree with you. There's no such rule that there's a tenure or any such period. I mean, there are so many examples of stamps being released within a few months of like the Rajiv Gandhi stamp or Indira Gandhi stamp or Dr. Abdul Kalam stamp. All these came within months of so that's not an issue at all. Of course, the process I'll tell you that the stamps are released based on some proposal. There has to be a proposal and some sort of sponsorship and all these things. So if somebody takes interest, I think that can happen. And that is just the clarifying the process of the stamp release. It's something that can be done. And I would like to describe a little bit about my mental frame now. It's like when you have which is the pot that gathers the maximum water. It is the empty pot. When I came here to the empty pot, so I think I got the maximum wisdom out of this session, I should say. I was very impressed by what you said, Chandji, about the development. Development is not something that we move towards a goal. It's something that which is accessible to everyone. I mean, something. I was reminded of a fable. There was a man who was fishing by the riverside. He's approached by an MBA graduate. He says, why are you wasting your time fishing? He says, what else do you want me to do? He said, you go to college, become an MBA graduate like me, and then what? Then go and join a multinational, And then what? And then you get a lot of money, and you have your family, and then you build your own house, and then you grow up in your hierarchy, become CEO of the company and all that, and then you can peacefully retire. And then what, he says? And then you can go on a holiday and do fishing. You say, yeah, I'm already doing it. So there's a lot of things that we have about modern civilization, so-called modern civilization. Is something that we need to introspect, and that is one thing I want to say. Another thing is, like, these days there's too much of this trying to paint everything in one color, like one nation, one culture. It is not something that that's where we are led astray, and I hope I'm presently surprised that you are having this one, discussions like this. I do hope that it will make a difference. Thank you.
Rajendra Kumar, the Chief Postmaster General of Karnataka region, a very enthusiastic supporter of new initiatives, and he's always come to our exhibitions and issues. And he's someone who I sort of look up to, because when you approach a government official, you generally expect that there is hierarchy, but he's someone whose office is always open for a discussion, and so we're really happy to have him here today.
Thank you, sir. Sangeeta wanted me to also say what it was like for me growing up. So I just tried to say a few things. Unfortunately, in my family there were 4 girls. Okay? Only one male member in the family, that was our father. So, and I grew up in Ranchi. Went to a government-aided Hindi medium school run by Christians, which had large number of Adiwasi students. So in my brain there was no frame. Childhood, in my brain there was no frame. My problem was with gender. I never had an issue about Adiwasi, non-Adiwasi, even though we had other people in the class. We were all good friends. And there was no frames as such. And unfortunately I went to school in South India, in Bengaluru, in Chennai. Then I went to college in Bengaluru. And I never faced any of the tribal kind of identity crisis. So for me it was a big challenge to understand some of this. My colleagues, when I was working in Jharkhand, at the time said, Shanti, don't talk. You don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about the issues in medical colleges in Jharkhand and Bihar. I know my husband studied in MP in those days. There was a systematic failing of, in first year, all the ST/SC students were failed. So you become a additional batch or B batch, and then nobody teaches you after that. In Perth, in Australia, somebody asked me, did you face racism? And I just looked at her, racism? And I realized in India, we call it discrimination and dilute it. Isn't it? Everywhere, so discrimination is of different kind and then we dilute it because it is racism. Fortunately or unfortunately for me, I didn't face much of it. I was treated as me, Shanti from Premji. And so, people knew I was a child, but that didn't matter to most people. But I was really shocked that one of my juniors who came from Jamshedpur had never heard from Benj or Lagda or Tokno. Never heard. So I realized these frames are also hidden and put in some corner. That in some people's life and in their world, we don't exist. So I exist as Shanti, but I will never be tribal Shanti. The main part of it is not understood since then. So I grew up without prejudice most of my life. I did face some racism comments and things like that. Once I wanted to tell a Punjabi gentleman in the milk line in Delhi, come to my office tomorrow, if you can take my job, you can take it. Because he was saying, कहाँ से आ जाते हैं लोग हमारी दिल्ली में? Excuse me, that's my state country capital too. I have as much right as you to be here. So the thing is, that is the kind of, just by my color, I was the only person with a color which is different from the rest of the people in the kids. So that is the kind of issue that we face. We can have whatever shade of color, sometimes the nose, sometimes the hair, sometimes the color, all those things can matter in the places where they do matter. In South India, people thought I was a Tamilian or a Malayali or a Telugu, and I passed to English. So that is how I grew up, but I learned about my culture because I was in a place where everything happened. And even though I lived in Ranchi for a very small number of years. But for all of you who were talking about this issue, please read an article by Dr. Paul Farmer, An Anthropology of Structural Violence. Have you read about that? Structural violence? I think you need to read that. Because many things that we're talking about is structural violence. Not having science offered in rural school is structural violence. Not having roads to go to school or go to the whatever things that we need, the opportunities are not given systematically. The dams and things, when we have lots and lots of studies which say multiple dams, smaller ones, are going to be as good or better, but it still doesn't happen. Roads have to be 4-lane and 6-lane. Really, do we need 4 parallel super highways from between Bangalore and Chennai? 4? So that's the kind of thing that troubles my mind actually when we look at how this framing has not done anything good. And the question to me is, when we reframe, the arguments are saying, we need to break the frame, we need to have a continuous frame, and I like the point about bow and arrow. So what is going to be our bow and arrow now? Seneca was talking about the digitalization, and my sister is very much about digitalization and things. See, the knowledge, how was it passed down in the past? I know in most of the tradition, tribal traditions and Adivasi tradition in India, young people were taught by the community about the culture. I don't know, it was called different things in different places. It's gone. We are individualized, we are westernized, we are developed, and we have lost the community. So the history, the values are also not taught the way it was done. They say that in Africa also they say it takes a community, a village to raise a child. No longer. Only mother and father raise the child, not even grandparents. Isn't that what we are today? So how do we pass on the knowledge to our own people? Because we all think, we all have our own problems, right? There's something else that I would like to do. My son is smiling because we have failed greatly. My father did not teach me the language. My mother learned when we were really grown up. My son hasn't got it. We have got our problems. Okay? We have got caught in things that what matters ultimately is a thing. I'm going to be 60 and all these things are coming back to me now. So, what is going to be our bow and arrow? Knowledge, how do we pass it on to our own people, our own children, for the future generation, and to others? How do we communicate? How do we communicate that our brains are not smaller like the Australian Aboriginal people are thought of? That we can't do maths. My sister was told that, don't do maths in college by our maths teacher. Don't do science, don't do maths. Then why do we, where do we get these IT professionals from the tribal communities? So that's the kind of question that we need to, what is going to be our Bengaluru? And I think digitalization of the knowledge is going to be wonderful. Keep paying at that so that dissemination can happen. Misunderstood, misstructured things can be broken down. We are not animist. Tribals will never animist. We believe in one God. Does not have hope. All the things which are put there, the branch and other things, we know what the value of that is. That is why we dance around it. We don't worship her. So these are the things that we need to actually work with. Reframe what, how, for what reason, and what will be our vehicle, what will be our go and arrow, and we can like that. What will be our go and arrow? Thank you very much for your participation and active participation. Thank you very much, Dr. Vikas and Sukita, for inviting me.
I'm very happy that the word reframing has been discussed like this. Vikas and I had a very simple thing: frame, photographs, reframing. It was an exhibition, and I see had these frames, you know.
We had frames there.
So we had that.
Frames.
So we literally had frames. But, and then, so, you know, we call it reframing, and Adiwasi voice is reframing. Definitely, after so many questions, it's wonderful to see.
Thank you, and I'd like to particularly thank Sangeeta Gupta, who drew me away from Northeast India, brought me to Central India, because I would not have come on my own. I'd like to thank all the students who come here, participated, wholeheartedly. I'd like to thank Shanti, who's on a sabbatical, but still chose to come for a lecture of here, and Mr. Sergeant Kumar has come all the way from central Bengaluru. It takes about 2 hours to come here. So thank you, everyone.
It's been a truly wonderful experience for me to be with all of you.
Are there people who do writing and literature, not literature, like story and poem, etc. Among you, there is a group which is very active, recently formed. So if you have pass on your contacts to Professor Vikas, I will pass it on to the admin. They have regular meetings and presentations by people, awardees and people like that. It would be nice to get connected to wider groups.
Thank you, everyone.